project started with an itch. My itch was, I'm building websites for 23 years, and probably one of your websites too was your personal site. The first website was a personal site or a blog. That was the first thing what you built for the internet. 3 years ago, I wanted to have a simple website for self-marketing purposes and to just share my thoughts. So I just looked around the popular blogging platforms. I found Drupal and WordPress, which can be self-hosted or also it could be on the web provider as well. There are the old-timers, Tumblr and Blogger. There are the newcomers, the site builders, Wix and Squarespace, and you can have these fancy post services as well. With Medium, LinkedIn, and now with Substack, where you can basically have subscribers. Lots of free and paid alternatives out there, as I've seen people also building blogs with Laravel and CMS and Static as well. I have 3 concerns with this. The first one, all these things, all these products are bloatwares. You don't always need a database to just store a blog post, because once you publish a blog post, that's probably not going to change in the future. Too much features, they offer too much features you're not going to use. Meanwhile, the features you might need are behind a subscription, a paid subscription. And if you are supposed to self-hosting, they are regularly requires updates and different kind of maintenance to avoid security problems. The number 2 concern is proprietary. You essentially give them license to use and distribute your content, like for Medium and LinkedIn. So you basically direct all your traffic to them, and they can do whatever they want to do with your content. You're still the author, but they can use that for their own commercial purposes. And you have also limited branding capabilities as well. My number 3rd concern was the size and speed. So you have a very, very minimal control on the output, on the generated output, and theming could be also really hard. So I just looking inside the medium web page sizes in the past few years, and it's all started with in 2010. It was just 467 kilobytes, and today an average page size is almost 2.5 megabytes. And there's an argument between what counts a generic page size. And so probably this is just really the low of the page sizes. I also checked the bandwidth averages, how they changed in the past few years, and I found in the past 5 years they are basically 6.5 times faster than it was. And if you go back to the previous slide, this was basically 5 times higher than 14 years ago. So basically they balanced themselves out, so it's probably not a big issue if the sizes are a bit larger or bigger, we have enough bandwidth. You can see UK is in the main league as well, with 93 megabits. I'm living in the rural area, and I disagree with this statement and this average, but this is the problem with averages. And also these are the broadband statistics for all regions in the UK. So it looks like the size doesn't matter on the website, but it still matters for SEO, because the slow sites negatively affect user experience, and search engines rankings results, and also the search engine results by the speed. They are ranking the slower websites lower. And it also surprisingly affects the carbon footprint. And I know I'm going to green, but I'm trying to just focus on the main things and why does it matter? Because internet is using energy to make the servers running, and land for storage, water for cooling, data transfer and bandwidth, server operations, the energy what the user devices use. So upgrading a server, other IT infrastructures can also lead to generic electronic waste, so-called e-waste. Production of hardware requires raw materials, water, energy. Newer technologies like ChatGPT or generative AI are only making these problems a bit bigger than not smaller. These are some numbers. what matters is basically the internet, the active internet users are generating the same amount of greenhouse gas emissions as the entire global airline industry at the moment. There are a few big providers like Netflix, YouTube, and TikTok, and the main number is basically in there. These three services responsible for about 0.06%, but we're just talking about all these three, so there are much more bigger providers outside with bigger servers and the streaming capabilities. So this is just basically just a piece of the participants who could cause problems with greenhouse emissions. So how to calculate it? There's a calculator where you can basically get an estimated number of how much your website affect the carbon footprint. And I just checked the website of the event, of this meetup event. It had 530 requests, and it's 7 megabytes transferred, but it's a compressed size of 22 megabytes, and it was about 30 seconds to finish. I think that's a steal. And these are the things what could, instead of just visiting the site, could do with that kind of energy what it's using actually to maintain it for a whole year. What we can do with this, the whole carbon footprint of the website. First of all, you can do a lot of things on optimization. You can reduce the size of the files by compression to decrease it, the amount of data that needs to be transferred, and you can also implement efficient caching strategies. You can also pick sustainable hosting, hosting services that uses renewable energy and have carbon offset program as well. Or you can pick a content delivery network and store all your assets there, just to distribute the content closer to the user so that the data distance is going to be shortened. So all of this fuss, and I just need HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I want to keep it simple. And there's a collective name, a group name of this called Jamstack. This is JavaScript, APIs, and markup. So they also have a website as well. So let's find the static site generator, because on Jamstack, this is an existing thing. These are the popular static site generators. There's Hugo in Golang, Jekyll in Ruby, 11t in JavaScript and Node.js, Gatsby, which is really popular because of React. And there was this thing called GridSum and Vue.js. And I said, okay, Vue.js, I know Vue.js, so maybe that could be good. So I started using GridSum. It had GraphQL, which I was thinking maybe GraphQL is a bit too much. That's just querying my content, my markdown files and stuff. And the other problem was with GridSum is they are basically abandoned. So in the past 2 years, it hasn't been updated at all. Okay, so let's look for alternatives. I found Next.js, which is basically the Vue.js version of Next.js. And it was good, it was leveling up, it was absolutely simple, there's no GraphQL thing, but it's basically a progressive framework, and I don't want to use a single page application for just show some blog posts and an about page. So I was thinking, why do I need JavaScript at all? Because I think it was last year in around December, when I was looking at my site and doing some fine tunings, checking the speed and the size of the pages in Lighthouse, and I just noticed that it's way too large for the content when I'm trying to share it with everyone else. So I don't need DOM manipulation, I don't need Vue.js, I don't need GraphQL, I don't need component server-side rendering, and any other JavaScript favorite mumbo jumbo. Let's find the static site generator in PHP then, because I know PHP and PHP is a server-side language, so that should be easy. I found Jigsaw, which is very popular in the Laravel area and in the Laravel community. And before I usually use a composer package, I check the dependencies. So I checked what dependencies does this have, and I seen, okay, this is very up to date with PHP versions, that's cool. It's heavily based or invested on Laravel. It's using a lot of Linux packages. It has Blade as well, and a DI container. And I just noticed that it also has two, not one, but two Markdown processors, which is probably a red flag. And it's also using .env files to store configuration. It also has dependencies on the front-end side, so it's using Laravel mix and Tailwind CSS just to generate the CSS files and just compile all the assets into one file. Maybe I don't need that, so I just really want to have my CSS. I want something which not going to affect my front-end stack as well. Let's look something else. So I tried Sculpin as well. It was it basically is the opposite of Jigsaw. It's heavily invested into the Symfony ecosystem. So it's using Twig instead of Blade, and it was exactly the same. I checked the dependencies. Okay, now that there's a bit more of a thing, I checked the PHP version. It's not up to date, and there's a strange affection around MIME types and stuff. Maybe that's a red flag. It's also using the DI container, and there's also Twig, but instead of env files, it's using YAML to store the content. The one positive side is they don't have any front-end packages inside. They have project skeleton, so you can generate your skeleton, your new project using a project skeleton. Okay, let's see another option. This was the smallest. It has been called Cleaver. The smallest competitor. I almost started to use it, but I checked the dependencies again. So PHP version is also really low. It's heavily influenced by Blade and Laravel and stuff. And yeah, I just checked the front end part. I mean, jQuery and Vue.js. I mean, okay, so you can use the two together, but why do you want to? And why do I need to have Vue.js and jQuery inside the PHP static site generator? So I thought I'm going to write my own iteration. So meet Phanstatic, which is basically a play with PHP plus static files, which is fantastic, and that's Phanstatic. Yeah, naming is hard. So these are the requirements. It's up to date to PHP. It has only one parser, which does just parse the Markdown files. It has a YUM front-end meta, because in Markdown files, the header, what you call before the content, called the front meta, so you can parse it as well. It is built on Symfony console, and it has two small packages just to manipulate the file system. And there's no front-end options. You can pick your own tools if you want to, but it's not necessary. So you don't always need to have SAS files and just format it to CSS. You don't need jQuery. You can just write very simple vanilla JavaScript as well if you want to. What does it do? It converts PHP pages to HTML. It also converts a set of Markdown files to HTML with an index page. It also copies your assets to a destination folder, and you can upload then the output, which is a dist folder, to any web servers. The bare minimum start, just to have a content, you don't need a configuration file, you don't need anything. You just create a content folder and put a PHP file in it, and it will convert into myfirstpage.html. myfirstpage/index.html, and when you visit your site, you're going to have that URL. How's the structure? It has a configuration file, but instead of having a configuration file of an array, which is really popular in Laravel, for example, I wanted something which, if I delete something from the array, I'm still going to remember it. So I just put everything into an object. But instead of creating the object yourself, populating the object yourself, there's also a config builder which generates the object for you. There are 3 console commands at the moment. One is just building, so just generating the HTML from the PHP files. There's a preview, which basically starts the built-in web server for PHP. And there's a config, which just shows the current config before you start the build. And there are 3 content builders at the moment. One is pages, responsible for pages, collections, and sets. They are also built in context on the pages. So when you are creating a PHP file for a page, you can have a site and a page variable, and they're going to have some very useful context. The site is going to have the title, so you can put the title into the title tag. The page variable has some URLs and parts of the file, so you can also put some conditions around that. When you have collections, each collection pages has their own, actually that's not true, the first one, but the second one is when you have a collection index files, you're going to have a pagination and a collection with items as well. We're going to see that soon. What was the architectural challenges in this project? It's not started as an open source package. It started as a project to just build something from a website and easily manipulate it, or just easily convert markdown files into blog posts and HTML. But once I went to the road that, okay, it might be going to be a package, so you can include it as a PHP package. I just started to think about all the challenges, and basically there were a few rewrites since last, I think in January was the finalist version. It's heavily built on Symfony Console, because Symfony Console is great. If you want to build some CLI tool, just go with Symfony Console. It's very easy to use. It also has using 2 Symfony components, file system and Finder. I was thinking to maybe I can just write this to, just read directories and create directories in PHP, but they are just 1 or 2 files. So, and they already compatible, and they were thinking who's creating these packages. Everyone is. So it's well tested and well written, and it's compatible with a lot of things. The other one was the next challenge was reading the YAML header. Obviously, I found that the package after all, but everyone is doing differently. Converting the Markdown into HTML, that was an easy choice because PHP leagues usually have very good quality packages, and I think they have the best option on open source at the moment. And page context was also something I needed to access a few things on the site when you are compiling. The problem with static site builders is when you are compiling one PHP file, you can't access the other files, and you can't access a lot of things. You just can't, it's not dynamic, so you cannot just reach out for a model or just grab another page's data, because the data is already inside that file. It just converts to HTML. So I also had to do something with the configuration to access it from the helper function. There's a URL and a set helper function at the moment, which is basically just if you're using them, it's just directing or channeling to the assets mentioned into the right place, into the right URL or the right file. It had to be a singleton, and that was the only place I used singleton because I think that was the purpose of that. And it also now throws exceptions for any issues in your source files. So for an example, you put some PHP errors into your source files, it's going to interrupt the build process. They're going to tell you that you made a mistake here, you're doing something wrong, so you can't do that. And naming is seriously hard. So I went with content builders for all the builders, but I'm probably going to rename it to generators at one point, because builders is just a bit different. So let's see a quick demo. If it's doing it. Oh, the side. Okay, and we have. Okay, so this one is done one. Okay. This is just a single site. I just downloaded something randomly from the internet. You don't need a CMS for this because probably the most of the content part is not going to change. You're going to have a hero section an introduction. You have the timeline. Timeline is not changing frequently. You have some reviews. You can book an appointment. But with Jamstack, you can basically build a JavaScript. There are several services where you can actually accept and process a form request and just store in a spreadsheet or something like that. So you can write a very simple JavaScript fetch into this, and obviously the footer is not going to change. So how to build this site in Phanstatic? You have the template here. What I've done is basically moved all the assets into the assets folder, and I have a pages folder under the contents folder. I created the partials for the footer and the header, and put all the sections HTML into that part, and basically I have just one index PHP file where I including all the sections. And once I go to or run static build, it just creates a dist folder which has all the assets copied, and I have the index.html file which is built and already pre-linked. And if you run the preview command, which is going to be here, you can just test your site and it's going to work quickly. I know you're asking what's the difference between just having the HTML and just uploading it and modifying it. First of all, I think this structure is a bit easier to look through, and you can't do this in HTML. So that's the only reason why it's absolutely recommended to use a static site generator for microsites like this. There's another demo for a collection. So this one is a blog. It has a sidebar, and which is basically a header as well. It has a subscribe form, it has a list of blog posts, and it has a footer. So here also I copied all the assets inside a content folder. This time I needed a configuration file. You don't need a configuration file, so you can just create one page or one collection and you are good to go. If you don't have a config file, the collections are going to use whatever information they have, but with adding the collection inside the builder, you can also add some details to for example here, the post collection. The key must be equal with the folder of the collection. You can add the title, you can add the slug and the page size as well for the pagination. And here, the only challenging part was it doesn't have really an index PHP. If you check the pages, it doesn't have index PHP, so it doesn't have an index page, because the index page itself is the blog index. Under the collections, you can create any kind of, you can rename it to articles and just use articles inside the collection, so it doesn't matter. If you want to, you can put an index.php file, which is going to be the paginated template, and you can put a single template there. That's the minimum requirement for collections. Then you can just, as you would do in, for example, WordPress, you can use simple PHP for templating. PHP is not a template engine, but it has template engine attributes, so it's really easy to include, require, and echo a lot of things out, or just do manipulations with conditions as well. So I created an index for the pagination, I created a single layout, and you can put your markdown files anywhere inside the post. I always like to organize it, and I just hate it when static site generator is just using that folder where I put them. But this one is not going to use. This one is going to use whatever you put inside the configuration slug. So here, and also you can define a slug here. I haven't done that, so the slug in that case is going to be always the file name. And just an addition, if whenever you put something, an underscore in the beginning of the folder, it's going to not use on the building, so it's going to ignore it completely. So in this case, it's going to just create the about page. The question is if I stop the previous one, probably not. So that's the file. That's the single page. 1, 2. And you have pagination as well. And basically, it's exactly the same. If I find the cursor, it's just created these files into there, so you don't need to think about it. And whenever you want to just, write a new blog post, you just create a new markdown file, add some details. These are not required. The only required thing is the title. Then basically, you can put anything into it. Again, where's the code? Okay. So what's next because this is a beta, I have it's already in production on 2 of my sites, and it's working perfectly fine. And to be honest, it's not a big thing. It's not going to reform the world of CMSs and stuff. It's just a tool which help you to not reach out for progressive JavaScript frameworks, to just have a static site. So the first one is better support of custom content builders, because they will be shown here. Going back there. So this one is a project, but it also has its own namespace. And if you go to SRC folder, I've already created an RSS builder. And if you check the dist file, it doesn't have anything, so probably it's not going to copy it there, but it creates, oh, actually, because it's commented down. So you can set your own builders, and you can also say, I don't need just the page builder, so you can just put the page builder in, or you can completely remove this part, and it's going to use the asset builder, the page builder, and the collection builder. You can also change the order of the builders as well. Let's rebuild it. Probably, yeah, there's the XML. So you can have your custom builders, but it's not 100% the best option I can give you. So I might going to think about the DI container. My only issue with the DI container, once I'm going to use it, it's just basically a framework, because you need to register your own classes into the package, and I just don't want to do that. I'm probably going to work on this built-in reading time data on the pages. So in the page variable, you can use a reading time attribute, and there's going to be a table of contents, basically just collecting all the headers from the markdown file, so you can have a really handy tool and just navigate through if your article is really long. I also want thinking of a command to generate order page. So you don't need to create content folder and pages folder and everything. It's not that hard. I really try to just keep it really on a minimal level to start with. And also thinking to have to make the collection able to read JSON API endpoints, and an ability to upload assets straight right to a CDN. Add more tests. I'm a big fan of TDD, but the problem is experimenting. You just start doing it, and once you're already in there, you did so many refactorings and stuff, and you just, okay, it's done. Yeah, okay, I need to do something else, and everything just breaks. So even yesterday, I found a bug, which definitely tells me I need tests, because I'm not going to find unless I'm not doing it live. And also documentation and guides. All these things what I just discussed and talked about are probably going to be in the documentation starting from next week or the following weeks. And I definitely want to have guides because I have the implementation how to put some front-end frameworks into this as well. And closing thoughts. The first one is keep it simple. Web development, especially with design agencies like design agency products like company websites, microsites, which basically never updated once they just goes live. People tend to forget simple tools like HTML and CSS, and everything is a component nowadays. The second one is green coding. Read about green coding. IBM has a great article talking to start with. It will be, I believe it will be really important as much as tech dev in the future. Write blog posts. Share your knowledge, your thoughts, your ideas, and we are living in an amazing era to do that, to share knowledge with others. This meetup is also for that. And have a side project or a pet project, and don't rely on stuff, build that work, because that's not going to make you a better developer, programmer. I know sometimes it's really hard to find some time to do that, but it works. Thank you. We don't have time for questions, but if anyone wants to ask anything, just hit me on any contact details or.
Are you sure? Has anyone got any questions?
Unless.
No?
Yes. Go on.
How do you go about building search in your project?
You can, for example, you can have a custom builder build a JSON file, a JSON output, and you can write some JavaScript which is going to parse the JSON, and you have a search.
Brilliant.
Any other questions?
Well, thank
It's
you.
going to be out. Yeah, you can already create a project, but you need to set the stability to dev to use it. But yeah, probably the first version is going to be ready by September. That's the plan.
Cool. This year?
Yeah. Yeah, side projects are really
Yeah, side projects never hit deadlines. So
no.
thank you ever so much.